record this one now. And so, just as always, to start, today we're going to be going over opportunities, talking a little bit about goals, a little bit about tasks, but mostly just focusing in on the opportunities section, showing you guys some best practices from agents that are inside KW making, doing $20 million in volume or more that absolutely love opportunities. Usually people in that level say opportunities is their favorite part of command. It's one of my favorite parts of command. And so, if you're following along today and trying to do things as I do it, that's okay. I'm definitely willing to slow down if you need me to. Just let me know to go back and click through a sequence again or anything like that. If you need to interrupt with a question or anything like that as well, I'm 100% okay with that. I'll be monitoring the chat as well as best I can while I teach. So that if you guys want to throw anything in there, I'm happy to kind of keep a review on there and I'll stop for questions and such as we go forward. All right. Well, now that we kind of have everybody on here, I'm going to just open up. Was anybody on here? Does anybody have any burning questions or anything that they are hoping to get answered today before we start? Okie dokie. Then we're going to jump in and I'm sharing my screen. So you all should be looking at my command home screen. Is that what we're seeing there? Right on. All right. So the place that I kind of want to start here today is actually inside of the report section to take a look at goals. And because really, I think opportunities is best suited when you have goals towards something that you can almost make it a game to be putting people into this part of command on some kind of regular basis. And that's how you keep the pipeline of business going. But we need to kind of know what our targets are. So goals help us do that. So we're going to go into the report section, the 3 bars to the left with the little wave over it. And we actually want to go into the goals section at the top. We have goals up here. And you can see it's still defaulting to 2020 if you need to review those. But you can click over here on this drop down menu to the right and you get 2021 goals. And you can even set your 2022 goals now as well. So I'm going to set my 2021. Now you can see I've already gone through and set these. If you haven't, you're going to click on this goal setting button right here, and you're going to follow the prompts in the Kelly guide to set your 2021 goals, starting with profit, expenses, and cost of sale. Those are the 3 numbers that you can start with, and that's all you really need are those 3 numbers: profit, cost of sale, and your expenses for the year, your estimates for those. And then command is going to do this great calculation for you. So you can see in here, it tells me if I want to close what I put in for those numbers, it suggests that I create 5,295 leads, convert those to 530 contacts. And from those 530 contacts, I need 26 appointments set and keeping 20 of those through the year. And really, that's as deep as I need to go. You can go further and see agreements, under contracts, and closed units, which all of these are happening through opportunities as well. And so you can either work backwards from these goals, but you can see my end goal is 15 units for the year. Want to be putting 16 under contract. And again, these are all put in through the conversion percentages that you set in your goal setting when you go through there. And you can set your conversion rates for these numbers as well, so that it defaults to a bunch for you, but you can put in your own as well, where you can see I close just about 95% of anything I put under contract, but it might not be 100%, which is why you see that kind of drop from 16 to 14, or excuse me, 16 to 15. Now, I want to focus on this appointment set number because I think this one is the one that can help us understand how many opportunities we need to put into command, because there's kind of a blank space in between putting contacts in and having those contacts become appointments. And I like to work in kind of a 20-ish% range, the 80-20 principle there, where if I took 20% of these, I'm hoping to take those, make them all into opportunities. So that's about 100 opportunities for the year. And I want to turn those into 26 appointments set, kept, agreements, and so on. And so, like I said, I use 20% of my contacts that it's giving me as my estimate of about how many opportunities I want to put into my system for the year. So if we think, okay, if I want to do 530, that'd be 106. 106 opportunities that I'd want to add through the year. So if I wanted to add 106 opportunities for the year, I would want to figure out, well, how many is that per month? And so we'll do 106 divided by 12. And it's a little under 9. So we'll say, okay, if I want to do 9 a month, just to be safe, I need to add 9 new opportunities a month. And then so per week, we're talking about 2 per week and 3 one of those weeks during the month. And so if you can kind of keep that in your mind of, okay, well, that's how many people I need to add to my pipeline. And so when we say add to the pipeline, I'll show you guys real quick how we create an opportunity from scratch. And so let me jump into my demo part of Command. And we're actually going to create an opportunity. And the first thing you need to know about creating just an opportunity in general is you have to have a contact to create an opportunity. You can't create the opportunity before you have a contact in there. And so if you are putting in a new lead, or if you're new to Command, you don't have anybody in there, but you want to get them in there, the first thing you have to do is make a contact for them. And we're not going to go through and do all of this. I just want to show you guys a quick little button that can make this easier. That is in the add contact window. So if I come into the contact section of Command and I click on add a contact, it's going to take a moment. What we're looking for is there's a little checkbox that you can hit that says add to pipeline. And when you click that box, it doesn't do anything very fancy. All it's going to do is when you hit save on that contact, it will shoot you right over to the opportunity screen where you can then click create an opportunity and move them into the appropriate pipeline. And so you can see here's the button right there, but that's all it's doing is just sending you over to opportunities after you save this contact. And so I'll just jump right in there now. So it sends you over to this opportunities dashboard that you come in on. And to the top right, you're going to see the create opportunity button. Now, opportunities are separated into 3 main categories: listings, buyers, and leases. So if you do leases, there is a good section in here to help you run that part of your business. A lot of agents, though, are mostly inside of listings and buyers. Now, inside of listings and buyers, you guys see that there are 5 phases of the transaction, and that's Keller Williams talk, phases. So you can see that's cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. I don't want to be on this screen yet. And it's the same for buyers. We see the same 5 different phases, but underneath each phase, there are as many stages as you would like. Stages are the customizable part of the opportunities section where you can create whatever you need inside of those stages for each one of these phases. And I always tell agents their job exists in the cultivate stage, appointment, and active. At one point, you are going to probably have a TC take over in the under contract part, or you might be doing that yourself, but your real job exists in the cultivate phase number 1. The other 2, appointment and active, most agents are great at that stuff already. They have systems, they know what to do. Cultivate is the part that we can use the most help with. And so today we're going to actually build the cultivate section out a little bit in my listing section. I'm going to give you guys kind of my opinion of how I utilize these and other pieces of Command to kind of help me with moving leads from one phase to the next. And the goal, of course, is to get to those 15 closed between my buyers and sellers here. All right. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything in my notes. I know we have some more people jumping on right now. Let's see. Okay. Any questions while we are taking a quick break? Perfect. All right. So the first thing that when you get into this page, you should see just what I'm looking at, but your numbers might be a little bit different in here in the number of different opportunities inside here. Your potential income and your probable income might be different as well. This is another fun place to kind of gamify it in your head of, you know, turning this probable income or this potential income into the highest number that you can, because the more opportunities you add in here and the more honest you know about those opportunities, you're going to see that that number can really be inspiring. I have an agent now that I'm working with who he's transferring all his spreadsheet into opportunities and putting in all these different things and sending people to lenders, and his probable or his potential income is over 500,000 now inside that command is helping calculate, and you can start to see where your business can go, and it really is concretely there when you have all these opportunities tied to contacts. So let's create a quick opportunity. So we're going to click on create opportunity. And we're going to do a listing opportunity just because we're going to work in the listing section, because I've already built out my buyer one and I want to show you guys kind of from scratch what it's going to look like for you. And so we're going to do a listing. If you're not on a team, you're not going to have to worry about this team stuff up here. You're just going to be yourself. And then we do need to have a client. And so we're going to do one for, let's see, you can set a co-seller if you'd like. So if you have a husband-wife combo, you can set your co-seller. And then in here, set up your opportunity name. For a listing, I generally want to go with the address of the listing that they are listing. So I put their name, Dulucky, and then their address. Street. Now, tags for your opportunities, just like you tag your opportunity or your contacts, you want to tag your opportunities. And I do a few tags that I don't use too many here. I would say, so the ones that I use are location. I'll generally have some kind of, you know, if it's county or some part of the city, I will have that kind of tag on there. I'll have a tag if it's from a referral and what kind of referral it's from. So if it's from a lender or another person or first time home buyers. And then I also use like market tags of, you know, the definitions of the different areas of the market between luxury, premium, and classic. And I'll put a tag on there. And it's all kind of in the idea that if I want to go back and take a look and see where did my deals come from? Where are these things happening at? And quickly just pull these tags out. I can do that at the end of the year. And so that's the goal. There's other ones that you can use if that's important for your business. If you use a TC, tags can be a great way to communicate something about a file in terms of where it is in the sphere, if there's a team in there. And so lots of great ways to use tags. Just, I would say, start using them, because it stinks to be like, well, you asked me a question of how do you find this data? And I tell you, did you tag your database? And you said no. And then I will go, well, then you get to just go through and look at them all and figure it out on your own. All right. So definitely, I always recommend you put in a number for the actual estimated amount for their budget in here or the estimated list price. And the reason is because those numbers that calculate that I was talking about before, that potential income goes off of these numbers. And so I'm generally fairly conservative with somebody. And so if it's a listing in Denver and I don't know what it's worth, I'm going to use about the average. So I'll use usually about 425. And you know, if you do something like that, you're going to get some above and below. It's not always going to be about there. And I usually use for listings, I use a 3.0 commission rate for it to estimate the commission for this opportunity. Now, we get the choice of where we want to put this opportunity right away. We have the 3 different phases first of cultivate, appointment, and active. You cannot create an opportunity and put it just right under contract. You can't do that. And so you have to put it in one of those first and then move it in if you need to, but you should always be starting them in cultivate, right? And you get to choose which stage that it goes into as well, watch, nurture, or hot. And we're going to jump in and talk about these 3 stages here in a moment. Again, if you're not on a team, you won't need to worry about assignees, or if you are an assignee on a team, you won't have to worry about this, just for rainmakers down here. But then you just hit create. And so now it should create our opportunity. And we can see up here, it's Dulucky at 123 Main Street. And we're in the details section of the opportunity, which we'll get back in here in a little bit and go through all these little tabs, depending on time. But now we see that Cultivate has 2 opportunities inside of it. So I'm going to jump in there And we see do looky is over here in the watch category. And if I want to move do into nurture or hot, I can. Now, all of these pieces mean whatever you want them to mean in your business. And that starts with the first thing in general that you need to define is what is an opportunity? Some agents use someone that's going to buy in the next 12 months. They fit into that category, they are an opportunity. Some agents use 18 months. I'm hearing some of the more successful agents going out to 2 years, that if they believe someone's going to buy in 2 years, then they'll put in here and make it an opportunity and put it into their system to follow up with them for 2 years. And they said that more often than not, people buy in half the amount of time that they actually say, and they end up transacting well before what they actually say. And so that's why they changed it to 2 years, is because they were realized that they were missing business that said, I'm not going to buy this year. And then they end up buying right at the end or in 8 months, and they were missing that business. And so they put it in 2 years. And there's a good chance that people stay in this page that you're looking at right now for 2 years as they move from watch, nurture to hot. It just depends on what you define these. Now, a lot of agents use watch as 12 months or more out, nurture as 6 to 12 months out from buying, and then hot as in they're going to buy in the next 6 months. And they have systems that help with each of these pieces to make sure that they stay in touch, because all of these things have a checklist that you can set in each of these stages. Now, maybe your business needs another stage. Maybe you want to add something additional to this, or maybe you want to have 4 categories here. Well, that's when the editing stages comes in. And so when we click on edit stages, I said earlier, you can 100% customize these. You can delete all of these out and put in one stage, or you can have 10 stages. It's all up to you on how you want to see that opportunity flow through the cultivate phase. And so the default is watch, nurture, and hot. I have another one set up with, in 3-month intervals, but I'm finding more and more that, agents like this better. They keep it simple. And as long as you have an idea of a timeline kind of what each of these mean, then you can start setting up a checklist. And so we're going to set up a quick checklist for watch, nurture, and hot for a seller. And we're not going to go into too much detail, but if you guys do have any questions about what else we can do or how this works, feel free to interrupt. We're just going to go through, and you guys are going to see a little bit of repetition, and there is a point to that. But let's go ahead and build these checklists. Now, one thing that you need to know about checklists is they don't go backwards. So the opportunities that we have in there now, in their sections, if I update their checklist, it's not going to update onto that card until I move it into the new one. And anything new and going forward, it will take, but it won't go backward. It won't add to the one we just made for do. If I change the watch section right now where do is sitting, it's not going to change that for do. But if I change nurture and then move him in there, it will. Does that make sense? Maybe get some head nods. All right. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate it. Hopefully that makes some sense to the rest of you guys without your screens on. And so with that said, just do this early. You want to set these up first before you start loading in all of your opportunities. Think about these checklist items first. And so let's set up a few for the watch part of this. And so for me, when I think about the watch section, they're furthest out from here, and that person is probably not going to buy this year in my system, because I use the 12 to 24 months for watch, is I think they're going to buy the next year out. And so there's a few things that I want to make sure I have in here. And so let's add in those different checklist items so that I make sure I get all of that information. So the first one that I want to add, of course, is the monthly neighborhood nurture, which is a smart planning command that I want to make sure that they are on. And so this is monthly neighborhood nurture smart plan. And then I'm going to hit save. And so I know I want to put that on my monthly neighborhood smart plan. That sends them a single email every month for a neighborhood. Well, if they need a neighborhood on there, I might need to define their ideal neighborhoods. So that might be a touch to reach out to them. that you can do when this task shows up, because I'm going to show you guys how to set due dates for all this stuff too. All right, define their ideal neighborhoods. And so maybe I probably want to do that first. So I'm going to raise that up, and you can see I can grab these little tasks just by the 6 dots on the side here, and I can change the positioning. Lending, we probably don't need to have lending in there. So if I don't want that in there, I just come over here and hit delete. And yes, delete. And so there went that lending one. All right, so, and then of course we always want to know their contact info. So if we have a seller and we're trying to cultivate this listing, if you brought it in as a lead, we always want to complete their info. And so you can go through and make every piece of the contact info, email address, or I just usually do contact info complete. And that's just generally a reminder for me to continue to continue to work on their contact until I have all of the pieces that I define as a complete contact. Let's see. So we're going to save that one. Sorry, my notes keep going away. All right. Then I'm going to add a column for foundational smart plans. And the foundational smart plans, when I mentioned those are your birthday smart plan, the monthly neighborhood nurture, the anniversary smart plan, the let's see, monthly neighborhood, and the quarterly call. And so I want to make sure that they're on all those foundational plans. If they're a seller in the watch category, meaning that they might be selling in the next 2 years. Quarterly call means I'm calling them every 90 days. Monthly neighborhood nurture, that's once a month. And then let's see on here, I might even for the first 6 months put them on a long-term nurture, which the long-term nurture smart plan is a great one to start with somebody who's pretty far off. Just to give you guys a quick overview of it, it's a 6-month long plan, which is going to remind you to send them a phone call. It puts them on the monthly neighborhood nurture for you. So it sends them an email every month. It will send a one of 6 different text messages that it's already written for you. That's kind of just like a check-in, like, hey, it sends one of those each month. And then it asks you to send a value email to them once a month. And so that's one that you would write. That might be one that you write in command, and you pick one of those buyer education ones, or there's lots of different options on how you could send a value email, or it even could be just, what are the local things happening in your neighborhood or their neighborhood coming up soon. So lots of different ways that you can use that plan, but it's 6 months long. So it just revolves through that. And I think it's great to start people on that, especially if you're trying to get to know a seller and you want to contact them at least once a month instead of every 90 days with the quarterly call plan. You can use the long-term nurture smart plan. Again, this is built from KW, so you don't have to do anything but just go into the smart plan library and download it. All right, so we're going to put the long-term nurture on there. And then, of course, if we're working with the seller, we should be providing them a CMA or a comparative market analysis at least once a year. So you might do a CMA number 1, save, CMA number 2, save. And then if you use HomeBot, you might put in HomeBot ad and save. And remember, I can set due dates for all of these so that after I create this opportunity and it goes in here, I can go in and set due dates and set out all the times I want these tasks to show up for me. I can say when I want all these tasks to show up for me in the future, so I can stay on top of these and not let this person fall through the cracks. This is how you build it out to make sure that you don't let that happen. All right. And so these are all the ones that I'm going to add for my watch category. Now you can get way more detailed than this. I've heard of agents that have over 30 or 40 different checklist items in some of their cultivate stages. All right. Sorry, my phone's getting blown up here and trying to navigate all these. All right. So let's jump into nurture. Now, nurture is, in my mind, people that are 6 to 12 months out. And so people who are 6 to 12 months out, I actually might utilize the midterm nurture here. So the midterm nurture is another one built from Keller Williams. It's a very similar plan, but it's only going to be 3 months long, still sending 4 touches a month. So it's going to remind you to call them once a month. It puts them on the bi-weekly neighborhood nurture. So that's 2 emails a month. Sorry, guys, hold on just a moment. Appreciate your guys' patience with that. All right, so midterm nurture. So let's see, it's 3 phone call each month, 2 texts or 2 phone calls, and then I believe a text message once a month. Um, and so that one is only 3 months long, but I think it's a great one to use for the same thing when you know that you need to kind of be more top of mind with these people. If it has been 12 months and they just entered into now the 6 to 12 month range, right? They're within kind of that buying time where I know in my mind, this is actually when they're going to probably buy. If they told me 2 years, they're probably going to buy right when they hit that year mark or so. And so I want to be talking to them more when they move into this category because they're probably going to be transacting soon. And I want them to think of me. And so one that we're going to add in here as well is we're going to add in the app. And we want to see if they've downloaded our app. And so when you see these things pop up, and you can tell really easily if your contact has downloaded the app and connected to you, they'll have a little green check mark in a green circle right next to their name. And that tells you that they're connected to your app and that you can actually see all the activity that they do on the app, which is the best part. So that's why the app is, I would actually put the app in the watch section too. We should add that in there. And then of course in the hot, that the entire time you want to be reminding them to get on that app because you can see when they do have activity. If they start looking at homes on your app, you're going to see all of the properties that they're looking at. If they start making collections and harding them, you're going to see that too. You can start seeing the collections and searches they save, and you can actually even make saves and searches for them now where it's going to actually send it out on a regular basis. So you can send them instant 30-minute updates of whenever a new listing comes out in that area, all the way to monthly updates of a certain search. I think the app is going to really just expand even more and more this year. So that's another reason to get yourself in there, get your clients in there. People really like it. I know agents kind of are like, well, the app, blah, blah, blah. Well, really? I mean, if you look at the reviews, people like it, and people just like to look for homes, and they can do it anywhere on your app. They can search Colorado, New Mexico, Canada, any state in the United States. They can look at on the app. And so people love to just search around on it, get them on there, get them signed in, let them know that they won't hear from anybody else but you because it's only assigned to you. And so you can let them know that, if you're not going to get bombarded from, Zillow agents or any other agents. It's just me. You can look as much as you want. And, you can think about your value add for the app, but the app is amazing. And there's a smart plan as well out there made by Keller Williams that is called Promote My App Smart Plan. Also another great one. You might put that in here. We talked about searches. So then we're going to put save search, because if I think somebody's going to transact this soon, I'm going to want to start sending them properties for the area that they might want to live, or at least the area that they live now, so they can look at the market. Remember, we're working with the seller. So sending them a saved search is also telling them market information all the time, saying, here's how many people are listing in your neighborhood. Here's how much people are listing. So when you go to your listing appointment, you have a little bit more credibility when you start talking numbers about when you're telling them, here's where you might want to list, and you're advising them around their listing price and where they would like to set the home at. You're going to have all this data that you've been showing them. And so you've already been backing yourself up this whole time if you're setting things up like a save search for them to be seeing these things. And so, like I said, the easy one to do is the neighborhood they live in, right? So they can see that, or the zip code they live in is what I would actually do at this point. Even maybe they have the neighborhood, but the neighborhoods are small. You can send the zip code as well, and then that might give them a bigger, a little bit larger picture of the market around them, not just their 10 by 7 blockish range that the neighborhoods we have are. Let's see. Other smart plans I might recommend at this time. Let me think. There are a few different seller like email smart plans in here. And if you were on the call early, you might have heard Ruth and I talk about Josh Bickle's package of smart plans, where he has a full year planned out of monthly emails to buyers or to sellers. So he has a full year for each. You can download them all for free in the library, but putting them onto some kind of plan like that, where every month it's sending them this value add of what are sellers doing to get more money? What are sellers, it's really basic stuff, but it's just, again, keeping you top of mind. And the next one that I really want to add here is contract. If they're going to transact in the next 12 months, you want to start asking for that meeting, even if they think they're going to list at 9. You still want to be hired for that and try and get that contract signed so that you can start working for them. And this is your reminder to start thinking about your seller agency contract. And so either setting up that appointment, bringing that conversation up so that you don't end up getting skunked. Because the sooner you think about this is the more you have that security in your own mind to think, okay, I have these people signed. They cannot walk away from me unless something bad happens, but you're going to have all these other things in here. And so if you sign them up, and this goes for buyers too, this absolutely goes for buyers too. Get them signed up, have them hire you so that you can start working for them and so that you don't lose them. And so I would recommend putting these contract reminders in there for you and setting those due dates pretty early for them. Now, again, these aren't a full list of everything that you should put in here. These are just some suggestions that I'm going over that I find I see the top agents are using these pieces along with these opportunities, because this helps them just manage all of it. And 100 opportunities for the year is kind of where we started earlier, 106. And those bigger teams, they'll only let about 100 opportunities be inside of their commands at a time. It's because it ends up being a lot of work when you build out these big checklist items. And if you look at your task list and you have 100 tasks a day, that's overwhelming. And if that's not your 100% your job, you might be overwhelmed. And so these can help you, but just make sure that you set a good limit and a good number so that you know what you can use. All right. So we're going to save these and we're going to jump into hot. Now, I don't mind being repetitive in my own systems just because I always want to make sure that the things are happening that I need to. And so I'm just going to ask myself again, did they get put on the app? Even if they're in the hot category, because I just want to make sure that they did. Maybe they got a new phone and they haven't downloaded it yet, and they haven't been on it. And I just send them a text, because if they do have the green check mark, this also tells me it's not just that are they connected, it's, well, if they're connected, ask for some feedback, right? And we're working on a 12-month scale here, and so, or 6 to 12-month scale. And so we can kind of think, okay, well, we can put that out and just like, hey, have you been on the app lately? They just did an update. So when you see the app update, that's also an excuse to reach out to people. You go over here and you shake your opportunities money tree and you look at all your opportunities in your hot stage, and you go, oh, who's all the people? Let me check, make sure everybody's got their app, and send them a quick message and see if they got the update, or whatever you need to do to just have a quick text message to them about, hey, have you looked at my app recently, or have you done this? And they're like, oh no, I just got a new iPhone and I didn't transfer any of my contacts, blah blah blah, all that. And they're like, oh, I'm glad that you did that, because I actually was thinking about going to see a lender next month because blah, blah, blah. And right now is the time you get to have those conversations. People will surprise you. Tax returns are coming. We'll see what goes on. Here, I want to make sure that they're also on the bi-weekly neighborhood nurture smart plan. The bi-weekly is just like the monthly, just happens every 2 weeks instead of every month. So when they're in this hot section, I want to be, again, sending that market information regularly so that they know what it is. Here as well, I'm going to make sure that I have a fresh CMA. If they're in the hot category, hot, they're going to be transacting in 6 months or less. I'm going to be producing a CMA probably right around there to make sure that I'm pulling a fresh one for the market that we're in here. Again, in hot, where of course we're going to have that contract, seller agency. And again, it's just another layer of a reminder. If it's already been done, great. I just check it off and it's simple and smooth when it's in here. I don't have to worry about it when it does come up. But if it hasn't happened, I just get another reminder to try and get that client in for a meeting and move them through that so that we can put them into an active stage instead of sitting in this cultivate stage. Because once somebody's signed up on that contract, they actually won't even be in here. So they only get to see this in this hot stage if they don't already get moved into my active stage where I can put them for sellers. I have a stage set up at the very beginning for like staging and kind of pre-listing stage where you do all this stuff that you do before the home actually goes active on the market. And so I can show you guys that too if anybody wants to see that a little bit later. All right. Let's see. Oh, and then the other one that you will definitely want to start thinking about talking to sellers here is, have they talked to a lender? If they're selling their home, there's a good chance they're going to be buying another one soon. So you probably want to start the lender conversation if they need one. And then you're also going to want to put a buyer opportunity because they are separate. So you're going to, a selling opportunity is one, buying opportunity is another. You might want to create that at this time. All right, so let's hit save. So now we take a look at our 3 new checklists over here on this. We have 8 items, 4 items, and 6 items. And so let's actually jump in here. And so now we can see, like I said before, poor Look, he doesn't have all those checklist items. He didn't have them before. But if I drag him into the nurture stage, you'll see he will jump in and get the ones that he needs in here. There's his 4. And if I drag him, let's see if I drag him back, will he get the ones he needs? Negative. So you can see it does not go backwards. He doesn't gain the 8 that I wrote out already, unfortunately. But if I put him into these newer stages, it will update for these. So if I click on this specific opportunity, that's how I can actually set the due dates for these things now. Now, whatever stage they're in, that's the one that you can set due dates for. We're in the hot stage now, so we can click on the checklist. And you can see these are the ones that we just wrote. So I can come over here and just hover over one of these. And you can see as the rainmaker of an account, I get the assign button. So you can assign these to different agents or your administrator or your TC. So, you know, I use a lot of the under contract dates in the under contract section, and being able to have my TC put those in there for me if I want them to. You can do that or do that yourself. But in here, we can also set the due date. So we can come in and based on whatever the timing is, you can set it for the day and time of when you want it to remind you that this needs to happen. So let's go in here. Okay, let's actually set it for next week this time. Bi-weekly neighborhood nurture smart plan. You know, a lot of these I would probably just put them on right away, but you can set those due dates if you need to, especially if you're like a rainmaker or something like that, having somebody else do this, you can set those due dates for that person. It's as simple as you can see that your team members just show up in a list right here if you click the assign button. And let's see, CMA. I might not use a date for the CMA. I might not pull that until we do the contract or talk a little bit more about that. But again, you can go through here and set all these due dates. And these all show up in your task menu for when these actually happen. And so let me show you guys a little bit of what tasks look like, because there's 2 sections that go into tasks. One is the contact tasks, and then one is the opportunity tasks. When you're working in the opportunities and doing what we just did, putting the due dates in for checklist items, those actually show up in this tab up here in the opportunity tasks. So you can see in here, I have a reminder to call Jillian because I set this reminder. She's an opportunity that I have going. And same thing with Charles. And he has a reminder to send him a text right now so that I can get in contact with these people. I'm a little late on them. You can see I can snooze them if I'd like. On here, I'm actually just going to hit these until today or tomorrow. That'll work. And we'll snooze this one until the same time. And so that just makes sure that if I did not complete them, they don't show up as those orange overdues. But you can see I have a bunch of past due, it looks like. But you can look at the next 7 days. You can look at the next, oops, not past 30 days, next 30 days. And you can see everything that's coming out in opportunity tasks, contact tasks work the same way. Where you can see these are things that are more built from smart plans. So when you have a smart plan giving you tasks and reminders to do calls, reminders to do things inside of there, they show up in the contact tasks. Opportunity checklists show up in the opportunity tasks. So that's sometimes agents don't realize that there's two places and they're like, I never see them show up. Well, that's why, because you have to click over to opportunity tasks. You will see them on your homepage widget. Uh, just pay attention. There's a second column that tells you the type on the widget, and it'll just say contact. Or so I don't have those other past due ones in because they're not going to be due till Monday, so they're not up here anymore. But the opportunity ones just say opportunity right here instead of the word contact. You can see my friend Jay-Z. I don't know if you guys know who that is. He had a birthday recently. Just kidding. All right. Let me see what else I want to talk about with these. This is a good time to pause for questions. We got about 10 minutes left. And so I'd like to open up just a little bit for questions, see what you guys are thinking.
I do have one question.
Go for
So
it.
I've been using opportunities for a while. However, when I go to home and see my like track how many appointments have we had during the year, doesn't doesn't track anything. Like I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I thought it was because we were using the team one, but I changed it to just to Carlos. But still nothing. Nothing for the team, nothing for Carlos. Like it doesn't track the appointments.
Gotcha. And I think well, let me see if you're doing this one thing. Sorry, my dog is growling at Amazon delivery drivers. All right. So when you're in the opportunity, let's jump in here and look into the details. Now, before command was supposed to pull it in when you actually move them into the appointment section and out of the appointment section, but it does not calculate those in there quite yet on its own. So what you have to do is come into this general information tab in details, click on the pencil. And after you've created the opportunity, you can't put this in when you create it, but you see now you get this section in here that has this time frame. That is this section out time frame for months, estimated close date, which is what you put in when you're creating the opportunity. But then now you have appointment scheduled. And so you just have to come in here, put in when you scheduled the appointment. So that's the day you scheduled it. So say you scheduled an appointment for Friday today, you would put today's date. The appointment date would be Friday. Agreement one, they signed on Saturday. Or sorry, agreement one would be on the 8th when I met with them. Contract date would be the 8th or whenever they sign. Let's say they sign the next day. And then close date, you would leave blank until it actually closes. And now command actually does pull in the close date when you move from under contract to closed. It does pull in the date that happens and drops it in right here for you. I think it actually has you select the date of when it closed once you do that. And so that's how it should work. Were you guys doing that when you were putting them in? Because if you were and it wasn't happening, then I don't know what's going on. We'll have to ask support.
Okay, so just one question. Do I have to fill up like full dates, like the close date, the contract date, all that for it to appear as an appointment?
No. So you only have to do the appointment scheduled, an appointment date, and that should be it for your appointment side of things. It should be those two. And then it will also, so if you want to be calculating how many people that you're converting from appointment kept into the actual contract. So those are all coming in through here, agreement one and contract date. And so your contract date, if you only have the agreement one in there, it's going to calculate as much as it can, right? And save as much as you can. So you kind of want to go through as the opportunity goes and you know these dates, you want to be putting them in here. Like I
Okay.
said, the only one that automatically comes in now is the close date. but you don't have to put them all in at once. Just slowly get it in there before it hits the close date.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you, Adriana. Who else? Anyone else?
Hi, I'm a little confused. So for the opportunities, I guess the thing I'm confused about is the opportunities and the smart plan. Like they're two separate things.
Mhm.
What am I using the opportunities for? Maybe I missed it.
So the opportunities are a sales pipeline, basically. It's a visual representation of all of the business that you could make. If you've been in real estate before, you might have heard these called like a file before. Your file of information that everything is that deal. And all of your deals move through these opportunities for you to get paid. But this is just kind of tracking it all the way through the true life of an opportunity, not just when it's under contract, but when you actually get that opportunity to hopefully do business with them. Does that make sense?
It does. And so I guess what are the benefits of not, I guess putting it in cultivate as opposed to as I schedule appointments, then throwing it in there, or, when I have a signed contract, then throwing it in there. So not that I heard you at the beginning when you were talking about, people using it 2 years out and, but I guess, are there any other benefits to doing it this way?
I'm a true believer in systems and scalable systems. And this is, if you do get leads in that you can immediately take to the appointment stage, there's nothing saying that you can't do that, right? You can, if you get somebody in who calls you up out of the blue and they're like, hey, I want a list. And you're like, great. And they go right into appointment, fine. The cultivate stage is for the people that maybe that told you they're going to list in 9 months. And instead of writing that down because you were on another phone call and you couldn't do it, you made a quick opportunity and then you have it all in here now. And so it's about the system of building your business and making sure that nothing falls through the cracks of those people, that when you start having more people come in and you're helping more and more people, that you're able to handle it through this system. So it's not necessary to run great business through this. There's lots of agents who don't use opportunities or cultivate at all. But I do believe it's, especially if you're newer or in KW, it's such a great part of our system that allows us to just visually see all this going on, set a full system in here on how we want it to work and build our business out. So you don't have to do any of it, but this is the best practices I've seen of the successful agents that do use it. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And so are you able to send, or I don't know, do you do something with smart plans within opportunities?
Negative. So there's no real connection yet between smart plans and opportunities that are going to send things out. The smart plans, what I do is I build in, like you saw, the reminders for myself to jump in there and make sure I add that smart plan to that person. So for instance, if one of those came up, I would just click on that contact and I can go to his contact. And then from the contact, if I'm only doing one at a time, I would come over here to the timeline section to the right. And then we have this little smart plans area. And when we click on smart plans, it shows us any that they're on now. And then I can click and add to any smart plan I have in my library now. And so it's still one off. I do expect at some point that they will make that connection between smart plans and opportunities, where you'll be able to just add them in, or when they move to one section, it will automatically put them on a certain smart plan, but command is not quite there yet.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to know.
All right. Great questions. Anyone else or any more? All right. Well, before we take off, there's one piece that I did want to talk about that is something I'm really excited about. We didn't really mention it before. It's not necessary at all, It's a little bit of the second level of opportunities of really going deep, and that's client updates. So what command can do is you can set a command to tell the opportunity or to tell your client all the tasks that got checked off the day before. So if we click on client updates here, when we're in the details, you do have to turn this on per opportunity. It's off by default. So you have to come in and turn it on for anybody you want this to work for. But then you can set exactly when this email goes out. So I like to send mine at night because then all the stuff that I did that day and I checked off gets sent out to those clients of everything that I checked off, but only the ones I want to be sent. So you saw like I had, app on there, and I had those other ones. I probably wouldn't send one that said app question mark, that it said, oh, app question mark was checked off today. Probably doesn't mean anything to them. But I might send them something. I might build another one that does that. I click both of them, that it says something like successfully connected to Steven's app. So that when it says that was checked off, they actually see that come up in a little email. Oh, we can't preview it in here. Let me see if I can pull the preview over here. So also shout out to answers.kw.com right here. If you don't go onto this website regularly, I definitely recommend you do. You can learn so much, tons of links, tons of ways. So this is just going through and talking a little bit more about what I'm going through here. Sets a little bit more, even more info. Let's see if they have the preview in here. No preview, bummer. Let's see. But it's just a really simple email. It pretty much sends them, if you have a listing associated with this, so it'll send them a picture of that listing, whatever was saved in the KWLS last. Has a nice little the name of the opportunity right there in it for them, and it tells them these are the things that got checked off in the last day. And if nothing gets checked off for that opportunity, then nothing gets sent in that time. Simple as that. And then it starts the check over again where it says, okay, and after it checks at 8 p.m. for mine to send that email, if nothing was sent, then it says, okay, and then it starts and listens for any tasks that get checked off. Any of them that are checked off that I tell command to send to them when checked off will be sent the next morning. And so it happens every single day. I hear great stories about, especially on listing sides, when there's a ton of stuff that you're doing in this pre-listing part, where I've heard there's a lady who has 85 steps, I think, on her listing, her first like listing stage. And she has a team and a TC, and like it's detailed, but they're also, those clients are getting updates and they're seeing all these things that the agents are doing. And so this is also just another plug for you guys to get your contracts done and signed before they're actually ready to go, because when you start sending them this stuff and you have all these client updates and they're weekly getting, a little bit of a, sent text message to them, they're also getting that reminder, oh yeah, I did get that message. Maybe I'll send it back to them. All those little things that you're just keeping top of mind, and they see that you're working for them already. And so it's just another reason that you guys can show your value with these client updates. And I love that you can do that with command. And once you kind of get a hold of your system and you want to share it with your clients and really show them what you're doing, it's a perfect way to do it. All right. So we could spend a whole nother hour talking about client updates and more questions and all these other things. But unfortunately, we are out of time for today, y'all. And so if you need to meet with me, please find some time in the chat. This week, I believe, is pretty booked up already, especially if you're looking for an hour long. But please make some time with me. I can put my link in the chat for anybody who needs it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And let's put that in the chat. There you go. So anybody who needs it, go ahead and grab it there.